for us, at least. You just heard a Zoom lady, an extra indication that you are at the right time at the right place. So warmest welcome to the very first edition of the CoARA Spotlight series. It's really great to see so many friends of CoARA and colleagues in the chat, among the attendees and also in the chat. Feel free to use the chat intensively during the event, okay? We are going to keep an eye on it and collect your questions, collect your comments from it. And also, as you probably expected from today's session, after the brief talks, the emphasis is going to be on exchanges and common share discussion to learn from each other. That's the very gist of today's session. The idea behind this CoARA Spotlight series is to take really the practical side of all the many forms of knowledge exchange that CoARA is nurturing, CoARA is fueling, be it something around working groups, something around national chapters, something around cascade-funded projects, or something that is just very spontaneously and organically growing out from exchanges among members of this great coalition. So in this first instance, we are going to get closer to a framework that has always been a subject of discussions from around CoARA, NORCAM. And in addition to taking you closer to NORCAM, which you might be familiar with to some extent, we are also going to see how the CoARA knowledge exchange is being manifested in the sense that how NORCAM is being tested, adopted, implemented or explored to be implemented in a variety of institutional and national contexts. So how a solution that is very bespoke and working very well, I dare to say in Norway, can be adopted in other countries, in other contexts, in other systems of research assessment. So it's my name is Erzsébet Tócifra. I'm the program manager of CoARA. You probably know this. It's also Katrina Gibbs, our communication expert, Leonora Cherison, here with us today as a support team. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce you our speakers for today. So first of all, the lighting tower of NORCAM, Ragnar Lie from Universities Norway. Ragnar is also National Chapter co-chair of the Norwegian CoARA National Chapter. Welcome, Ragnar. In addition to Ragnar, also Alicja Józkowicz. I hope my pronunciation is okay-ish, Alicja. Is also here with us from the Jagiellonian University and from the Polish National Chapter. She's going to share reflections on possible NORCAM implementation pathways in Poland. And in addition to Alicja and Ragnar, it's my pleasure to welcome Mira Söderman from the Finnish Federation of Learned Societies and also CoARA National Chapter Finland, who will be sharing perspectives from Finland. And last but not least, Johan Blaus from the Swedish CoARA National Chapter and also from the KTH Royal Institute of Technology. So Johan, Mira, Ragnar, Alicja, warmest welcome. Thanks a lot for being available for this very first session. So without any further ado, I'm going to give the floor to you. You can start. I think we are starting with Ragnar. Ragnar, you can put up your presentation. You can start taking over the screen. We are all looking forward to your presentation. After the presentations, once again, we are going to have hopefully plenty of time for exchanges of all kinds.
Thanks a lot, Erzsébet. It's my very pleasure to be invited not only to a session like this, but the first in a row of exciting sessions, spotlight sessions in the CoARA community. So thanks a lot. My idea is here to give you a small glimpse of or a short go through of Nordcom and how we what it is and how we work with it. Starting with the kind of our common problems, what kind of drivers is behind this coalition of eager people to drive some changes and where we want to go. And then something about the Nordcom framework and how we can go together to meet our goals. So this is the kind of the generic introduction that I often use, and I've stolen this from the Netherlands mainly, the red and the blue. And what we reward is not today the same as what universities and our institutions are doing. So how can we go and get these two circles more aligned? So, and starting point often is the discussion about publications. Some say it as a proxy for academic quality. And the quantitative and bibliometric indicators is tending to dominate. And other competences that our staff is doing are not systematically assessed. It's something that is nice to have in practice, but it should come more into the center of what you look for when you hire people. And the ability to cooperate is less valued. Only individual research results are and competences is systematically merited. So what do we want then? This is also from our Dutch colleagues, starting out with the open science agenda, not only focus on research and publications, but all the other activities. So we need to assess and merit more diverse careers, synergies between the different activities, recognize teamwork, acknowledge different differences between academic fields. And all these kind of goals, it's well recognized within the CoARA network, and the community, but not always practiced in our institutions. And also open research is of course a red thread in this community. We have in Norway, as you may know, also are engaged in a research project assessing what is really happening among the academics. And I want to show you some of the glimpse of some of the first results from this. So what do we want is one thing. What do the academics want? Is this correlated? And this is new insight that we are very proud of starting to work with and will disseminate. And we have asked all our staff in our 11 universities, that is almost 20,000 people, and one third almost has answered, more than 5,000 academics. So these are kind of good data, and they have been asked what do they think, what should be emphasized when they are applying for academic positions. And we will ask the same question in 2 years and see, look for changes. But already here we can see that basically many are quite okay with the situation, the blue part of this. But on the top, quite significant part is looking for less emphasis on number of publications and also citation measures. Also, emphasis on external funding, which has been a kind of a measure, and also where the research is published. And this is recognizable within our community, I think. So it's not, it's quite interesting. And when we see what do they want more, is open research practice, experience outside academia, dissemination, collaboration, quality, and not necessarily where the research is published, and also teaching and also personal qualifications. So this is some numbers that are interesting for us, and I will argue that some of these might be also relevant if you asked people, academics beyond Norway. So these are the kind of the main takeaways from this. So where did this come from? We also argue that this movement is coming from both open science, both the kind of the DORA agenda, and also the career policy agenda on recognizing a greater breadth of competencies. So we meet. This is a meeting place between different processes. So could we think of a framework and a model that is sufficiently coherent across national and organizational borders, and at the same time flexible enough to acknowledge a variety of academic fields and institutional profiles and more. And at the same time, it should be simple, useful, both for individuals and organizations, as well as an overall framework for covering all main activities at universities and research institutions. As you all may be quite aware of, the NORCAM is, we argue that this is somewhat on the way of fulfilling some of these questions. It's a holistic framework. I'll just move because I'm covering some of the screen. It's a holistic framework accommodating the full breadth of academic activities across different kinds of institutions, research institutions, and as well as funders. It's a toolbox. You don't use all the tools for all jobs, so you can focus on the job. It's flexible and can be adapted to institutional profile, subject area, type of position, project area, and the unit's academic goals. The framework, the framework's columns and rows are relatively fixed, but what we argue here is that we have focused on 6 competence areas. It's research output, which is kind of well known, but also split research into 2, also the research process, teaching, innovation, impact, or what you call it, leadership, academic leadership, to be a rector, to be a institute department leader, and so on, is absolutely something that should be not a hole in your CV, but a star in your CV, and also open for other experiences. So the thing in the middle here, though, the white text, is adaptable for what the need and for the profile of the institution or the center or whatever. So that there is the kind of the great flexibility of this. So what we do is that we have now almost all our members. We have 34 members in Norway, 11 universities, and these have almost all have adapted this NORCAM and made their own version of that according to their institution's profile. So University of Oslo has 4 examples: University of Stavanger, University of Life Sciences, and also the Inland University is 4 examples of this. So hence it can be adapted. They doesn't look very much different, but they absolutely are kind of answering on and profiling their own strengths and ambitions of being a certain kind of university or institution. And we also work across in the institutions, but within academic fields. So we have developed a CAM for art research, for humanities, and for natural sciences and technology as 3 examples. And these can be used. It doesn't have to be used, but they can be used by the institution when they assess appraisals or recruitment within their institution. So can this be used beyond Norway? Okay, or can this be fruitful for the community? Well, the step 1 is to agree to some basic principles, and 2 years ago, we did that. And we are on our way for a big group. And then we argue that this can be used in combination with what we have agreed about to be something that can be used beyond Norway. And here we are. We have the Norwegian version. Finland has developed a FinCam for use there, and we may get something that called SweCam. Let's hear what Johan has to say, and also in Poland. So something, maybe something. Let's see. That's my presentation.
Thanks a lot, Ragnar, for this lovely introduction. And I think you set the stage perfectly well for our next speaker. Who is, I think it's going to be Alicja. Okay, Alicja, the floor is yours.
Yeah, but I would like to have my slides. They are in a moment. Thank you very much. And thank you also for this introduction, because especially this PolCam looked very nice. What I would like to show today is some concrete about plans about institutional evaluation. So first of all, thank you very much for today's meeting and for the opportunity to exchange information about both the ongoing discussion in Poland and also some progress already being made. Unfortunately, Professor Stanisław Kistryn was unable to attend today, so I will try to replace him a bit by pointing that some elements of this new proposed evaluation system, in the institutional evaluation system, are, at least I feel that, NORCAM in spirit. Next, please. So in Poland at present, the assessment of individual researchers for hiring, for promotion, takes place at the institutional level according to various internal regulations. By contrast, evaluation of institutions themselves is nationally centralized and is mandatory. And right now, we are at the very active stage of debate about the new model, because in Poland, evaluation results matter a great deal. They determine not only the academic prestige of an institution, but also the level of its core public funding and the legal rights to award doctoral and habilitation degrees. So everything depends on that. So the topic attracts strong interest, and you can imagine strong emotions across the community. Next, please. The new evaluation model is currently being developed by the Ministry of Science with support of the ministerial expert group appointed earlier this year. The group is chaired by Vice Minister and brings together representatives of different parts of research system, like university rectors, members of the General Council for Science, experts with long-standing experience in research management, and so on. In this slide, I highlighted the names of experts from institutions that are members of our national chapter. And please note that 2 members of the CoARA steering board, Professors Marcin Pałys and Stanisław Kistryn, are directly involved in this work in this small group. Next, please. If we look back at the evolution of research evaluation in Poland since the early 1990s, we can see a clear shift from not standardized expert judgment toward strict metrics, absolutely strict metrics, and now gradually again toward more balanced approach. And the current system covered a 4-year period. It assessed research, not at the level of institution, but disciplines within each institution. And the main focus was on publication points. And the number of points for a publication depended on the journal in which the publication appeared, in accordance with very famous ministerial list. And other dimensions were formally included, but the real influence on the outcome was rather limited. And the system unintentionally encouraged what is often called a salami strategy, just maximize the number of outputs. And this also significantly discouraged interinstitutional research collaboration because of the way how these points were shared and calculated. Next, please. And the new evaluation model, now under discussion, is a clear attempt to move away from the purely quantitative system. It is based on 2 main pillars. Pillar 1 focuses on the quality of research in individual disciplines, whereas Pillar 2, importantly, looks at the potential of entire institution, entire organization. The evaluation would take place every 5 years, involving international experts at all stages, both. And there is also important principle strongly advocated by our national chapter, prohibition of the direct transfer of institutional evaluation to individual researchers. The next, please. So Pillar 1 focuses on evaluating of individual disciplines based on the expert judgment, supported by the evidence and meaningful indicators. In this approach, the range of recognized outputs is much broader than previously, including not only journal papers, but monographs, textbooks, patents, research services, societal impacts. It will be described possibly in a narrative form, fortunately. So instead of slicing research into thin pieces, the idea is to look at the whole cake. The next, please. And the Pillar 2 represents a real cultural shift in thinking about evaluation. Instead of measuring only what has been already achieved in disciplines, it also looks at what the institution can achieve and what is the development strategy, management, contribution to the research environment, and ability to support researchers, something very important for us. The method here is expert assessment based on the self-evaluation report. It's intended to be formative through identifying strengths, challenges, and providing recommendations for the future. After 5 years, institutions will be assessed both in relation to their own progress and in comparison to others, nationally and internationally. It echoes, I believe, the NORCAM philosophy, evaluation as a tool for growth, not just a checklist for control. And the last, please. So to sum up, I believe that the new model proposes the directions promoted by CoARA and rooted in NORCAM. It moves from the narrow focus on countable outputs to holistic view. It emphasizes quality over quantity, reflection over counting, and learning over control, let's hope. There is a strong focus on flexibility, also in case of individual researcher, which I didn't touch today, and on formative feedback. Of course, what I'm presenting here is still a proposal, the result of the work of the ministerial team. Whether it will be implemented and in what final shape remains to be seen in next few months. But at least it is already a good sign for optimists that the reform in Poland can go in this direction and the national chapter has its role here. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Alicja. It was very interesting to see how the what was your term? NORCAM in spirit. So like how the same principles and similar mechanisms are put forward for implementation in a national context that, in my humble opinion, retains significant differences from the Norwegian one. So thanks a lot for this interesting reflection. Very much looking forward to the Q&A. Before we jump into that, we have two other presenters. Next one, we go back to Northern Europe and we ask Mira to share her reflections. Mira, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. If I may ask Katrina to share my slides. And since I think Erzsébet already kindly introduced me and Ragnar set out the problem, so I think I'll go straight to the point and present our version, which is the Finnish career assessment matrix. So if I may have the next slide, please. In Finland, like in Norway, we are developing our own career assessment matrix. And before going to that, I will just give you like some context to our matrix. So the FinCam work began in Finland already some years ago after our national recommendation was published in 2020. This recommendation was drafted by a broad-based working group that was set up by the Federation of Finnish Learned Societies. And it was kind of like a process-oriented recommendation that tried to guide how to conduct a responsible evaluation process from start to finish. And our national recommendation also included an implementation plan, which featured a portfolio model of researchers' contribution, which has since evolved into FinCam. And here on the right side, you can see a summary of our national recommendation on responsible assessment. I won't go to details, but it basically consists of 5 overarching principles and 4 building blocks that guide through the responsible evaluation process. And we can take the next slide, please. So the Finnish Career Assessment Matrix, it is a national assessment tool, and the aim is to facilitate a comprehensive, systematic and transparent consideration of the wide range of work areas and competencies of an individual researchers. The tool is aimed for research performing and research funding organizations, and also for individual researchers to for example, when they are reflecting their own career development or competencies. And it supports both the implementation of our national recommendation and obviously also the CoARA commitments and CoARA's objectives. And in a nutshell, our matrix includes areas of assessment, just like the NORCAM model. It also includes qualitative and quantitative descriptions of different activities and contributions that are listed in the FinCam. And we are also working on kind of suggesting how these competencies and merits can be documented. And we have the kind of like same underpinning instructions informing our FinCam, for example, that the point is that you can choose the relevant areas of assessment, the relevant activities, depending on the assessment context, depending on the purpose of assessment, and depending on the career stage of a researcher. So it is not meant to be taking as a whole, but you can choose the relevant things and tailor it to the needs of the assessment situation. And then we can take the next slide, please. Just to mention shortly, FinCam is very much aligned with our with the frameworks made by our international colleagues and other international initiatives, and in this sense also FinCom contributes to this international movement towards responsible and transparent and context-sensitive assessments. And we can jump to the next slide, please. And something about the structure of FinCom. Basically, our draft includes 6 areas of researchers' work that you can see here. There are maybe some slight revisions to the Norwegian model, but nothing very big, I would say. It also contains a very long list of different kind of merits and competencies and how you can describe them qualitatively and quantitatively. The list is long but not exhaustive, so there is the possibility that for example, organizations can tailor that to their own purposes, add something if that is needed. How we kind of came up with these areas of work, we of course take a look at the international career assessment matrices that were already developed, and also some of the career matrices developed already in Finland. And in addition to that, we also conducted a survey to researchers in Finland, where we asked from them that what kind of merits and competencies should be taken into account in assessments, a bit in a similar line that Ragnar just presented. And the key conclusion from that survey is that researchers want to be assessed holistically. Of course, there are some things like research outputs that are maybe important for all the researchers, but then there are a myriad of other kinds of merits that are also important, at least to some researchers. So we try to build our FinCom to take into account this diversity. And the next slide, please. So just quickly something about the next steps in our work. We have during the spring finalized the FinCom draft, made some revisions to the version that we had in the public consultation and feedback process. And we are currently developing FinCom into an online tool, which will, in the first phase, it will be a browsable platform which features the areas of researchers' work, the competencies, the merits, the quantitative and qualitative examples, how to describe these merits. And the idea is then to gradually expand this platform or online tool with new functionalities. And to support this work, we were also very pleased to receive the CoARA Boost Cascade funding for our team project, implementing framework for assessment, which we are implementing together with University of Turku and Lapland University of Applied Sciences. And in this project, we are developing the tool from the perspective of different use cases. And we just a couple of weeks ago, we had our first project workshop in Rovaniemi, Lapland, and it was very fruitful discussions to develop our tool further. Then we have still some parallel developing processes going on in our working group. We are thinking how we can how the skills and merits and competencies can be documented. I think this is a shared challenge by our colleagues. We have some merits and outputs that are easily documentable, but then also our FinCom includes some things that are not so easily captured by research infrastructure. So we are thinking how to tackle that problem. And in addition to that, we are also planning to include some kind of guidelines on the responsible use of of criteria that we have in the matrix to ensure that the tool kind of helps to steer its users towards responsible assessment process. So that was it in a nutshell. In the final slide, you have some links to our national recommendation, to our survey report that we conducted among researchers, and here's our wonderful working group who is contributing on developing the FinCom further. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mira. Thanks for sharing this national perspective. Very interesting, and I think lots of food for thought for the discussion. And yes, indeed. Let's move on to our last speaker, Johan Blaus. Johan, we are looking forward to your intervention.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me today. I will try to keep it short in order to that we can have some conversation about the questions and so on. I will talk a little bit about the SWECAM. That of course alludes to the frameworks we have heard. I will not get into the discussion about the needs and so on. We have heard about that. In our case, in my case here, I would stress one specific aspect of recognition, and that comes from a pretty long period of time in Sweden. We have joint development project among universities about the collaboration perspective. And we have a network of leadership persons. It's vice presidents or deputy presidents of Swedish universities working together. And the name is CLOSNET, about knowledge and learning about strategic collaboration. And this network has been working in different projects since 2013. And one of the main areas is to how can we highlight and recognize and reward the merits of collaboration. And when we started the process with SWECAM in the end of 2023, it was a process to decide a framework in the Swedish system from the Rectors' Conference. Now it's decided. It took a couple of years because that was the starting ground for our work. It was meant to be, but now we have this framework, as you can see here on this slide, with 8. It will be actually in the final version 9 different boxes or perspectives of the framework in Sweden. So in our case, when it comes to collaboration, or in Norway, that perspective is called innovation and impact. And you have different names in different countries, but in our view, this is an important part of broadening the scope of what you actually assess and recognize when it comes to merits. But we dive into this box, enhanced merit value for societal impact and collaboration skill. And we started this project to also be a bridge in the coming national chapter for CoARA in Sweden. So this was a way to gather the learnings we have had for about 10 years and to push it forward and also to intensify the dialogue both nationally and internationally. We have been in touch with Ragnar and Nordcam, of course, but also in the Netherlands, a lot of dialogue and learning. And during these almost 2 years, we have also run 5 pilot projects with a lot of learning. I will come back to that. And also we have some outreach activities to drive this agenda. So here is a copy of the report that we just finalized a couple of days ago, actually. And unfortunately, the report itself is in Swedish, but you can get an idea of the content on this slide. But to a large extent, it's to summarize the efforts we have done so far, what the learning we have had in Sweden, and some reflections and conclusions about the development and what ways ahead as a starting point for some kind of framework in Sweden as well. And also a more deep dive to the different pilot projects in 5 universities. So we also had an in-depth dialogue with the Swedish Higher Education Authority. They ran a national exercise assessment of collaboration among Swedish universities 2024. And one result of our dialogue is that also made an in-depth report of collaboration perspective merits that you can see here. One thing that we've been working with in the Swedish joint projects is to try to visualize with different perspectives. So this is an example on individual level that you can do on group level to compare different profiles. Now we think that it's important to have this kind of visualization when you discuss new types of merit aspects in the career systems. And we have been doing a lot of outreach activities. For instance, we have been on this conference. This is an example 2024, where we had interviews with a number of countries on their status of their change work when it comes to merit systems, and not least the collaboration aspect. We have also looked into to some extent to the framework you had in the Commission, the research comp. And this year we also had engagement in the conference together with the recognition rewards in the Netherlands. And I think it's interesting on the right-hand side where you can have different profiles and different depth in these three dimensions: research, teaching, and impact. And there's a lot of material you can dive into. We have made some development of this visual tool to be more fair when you have the visualization, and if you take it to research context, we make a deep dive into making an impact part, but also in the working with others part, and then you can use this kind of visualization in order to drive the conversation on recognized merits. This is a framework we have working a lot with in the Swedish system, what you need to address in order to make new parts of the merit system to actually make a change. You need to address the strategy, the steering documents. You need to address all the 4 boxes in the process to hire and promote staff. You need to address the progress review, the annual review, but also you need to address how you document different things. We think this is a good way to which part you should address when you implement different types of frameworks, as we heard today. And some learning we have done through the projects that we have run now, it's that at the moment, at least, we find out that the nationally binding framework is not really desirable, at least when it comes to the collaboration perspective, because collaboration is to such extent contextual. So we need to dive into more and learn on the differences and from the process, maybe along the way, to design some kind of national framework. So we need really to do practices and test and describe and learn from each other, and also have a collegial discussion about that. At the same time, we need to balance between the flexibility and also with frameworks are needed in order to not hinder the mobility nationally or internationally. The project we have run, the pilot projects in Sweden, we have connected to the different boxes in this system view I showed you before. And last not least, one important part in the Sweden is that we are in part of the CoARA National Chapter. So we have our own working group 5, Collaboration and Valorization, that is chaired by Margareta. I think she's part of the webinar today, and I'm a vice chair of that working group. So that will be the working group that will carry on the work about the collaboration perspective, collaboration and valorization. And we combine this working group together with the Rectors Conference that has an own working group in general for merit assessment, the framework I just showed, and also this national network for collaboration, the CLOSNET that I showed. And we have learnings and summaries in English in those 5 projects that we ran in the Svekan that you can dive into. And we have started to collect new projects to learn from as well. So I have some contact points on the 3 different entry points in the Swedish case. So that was a very quick run through where we are in Sweden at the moment.
Thanks a lot, Johan. And we will make sure to share slides of all of yours so that if you are interested in picking up the particular case studies, you can do this either from the slides, or you can also use the chat to paste any links to these resources, studies, and so on. Having just a look at the time, I think maybe it's more time efficient if we read out your questions. I mean, your attendant colleagues, your questions, and proceed this way. And let's see how much time we have for speaking up from your side. First of all, it's great to see that there is an intense conversation going on in the chat. So hi, Mial, Piotr. Hi, Mial. Great to see you here. I think you're having a productive exchange with Alicja in the chat, so I will just leave it there and maybe come back later. We also see a comment from Paula M. Lopez. I love to see that nobody is expected to excel on all areas at the same time. I was seeing the danger to go from some quantitative standards only to other checkbox every researcher was trying to fill for the sake of evaluation. Paula, indeed, this is among the myths, common myths around the agreement. And the term we usually address by is a French idiom. That is, the idea is not to raise three-legged sheep in academia, but indeed to select and mix and match and find the composition of skills, talent, processes, outcomes, researcher profiles who fit the best for the actual mission of the institution in question. Fast forward to our next question, which is coming from Katja Plachov, University of Freiburg. Hi, Katja. Welcome to CoARA. Welcome to CoARA Exchanges in general. So Katja says, hello from Freiburg. We recently became member of CoARA. It's a question to all of you, I think. We recently became a member of CoARA and are about to reforming our practices of research assessment. Thus, my question concerning NORCAM, among others, is in regard to designing frameworks on research assessment. How did you define the level of concretization in finding your categories of research evaluation? How did you find categories general enough, not to exclude any disciplines or anyone, and be concrete enough, on the other hand, to be part of genuine benefit to the community? So this question has to do with granularity. I think probably a shared challenge to all of you. Ragnar, would you like to take this question first?
Yeah, I can start, and this is a kind of a question that is coming up many times, and also we have been into it here. I think the solution here is to kind of try to agree about the overall categories. We have 6 categories. They can be framed in different ways, impact or what you call it. But I think it's quite easy to agree across all the board to say that if we should assess more than research, and within research assess and merit more in addition to publications, these 6 ish categories is quite easy to agree about. So, and what we say in NORCAM is that these are relatively fixed. So if we can go beyond that, what is in the cells, and there is the granularity can be decided by the users. So if you are an institution, the categories can be many and also somewhat general. As a menu, and as examples that of assessment categories that can be used. So, and as it said, everyone doesn't have to do everything. So the flexibility lies in there. Some kind of one academic area can emphasize some kind of assessment categories, and another can agree on things that are specialized for their institution or their academic field. So the combination between the general framework and the flexibility of the granularity is what we have ended up with, and I think it works quite well, at least here.
Thanks a lot, Ragnar. And I see Johan and Mira also unmuted. So if you have any further comments, please feel free to share.
Yeah, well, just shortly, maybe from the perspective of FinCam, this was a very good question, and I think we have been thinking a lot about the concretization. And if you compare our FinCam, for example, to NURCam, you might see that we have included maybe more examples to there. It's a slightly more detailed, and it was kind of our choice not to exclude anything. But this is then when we were thinking to develop the tool, what we heard as a comment was also that it is like very long and very difficult to kind of implement that way, and that's why we decided that we will turn it into a like kind of like interactive web tool, so that it contains a lot of information, but then anyway it would be somehow easy to use, that it contains a lot of options, but then those who are conducting the assessment can choose the relevant things from there. And we are of course open to the idea that with time we might have to include some examples there, but it is a tough decision always to find the right balance between a general framework and how much we put details into that.
And I think the Finnish example is you've gone much further in kind of the granularity road there. We see that this is examples. This is not extensive, but if you want an extensive, go to the Finns. They have done a great job in this, and but then someone might then say, okay, I miss my field, or I miss my way of assessing. But if you see the Norwegian and the Finnish together, I think it's a lot to learn there.
What a lovely reflection. Okay, thanks a lot. So the slogan is, if you want to have more granularity, go to the Finns, indeed. Another very spot on question that has to do with cultural change and probably has to do with the intense emotions around changing research assessment systems that Alicja mentioned is from Craig Ian. How do we convince university leaders who have succeeded under the former dysfunctional systems to adopt this new one? It reminds me of Planck's principle that science progresses one funeral at a time. Do we need a generation of university leaders to die out first? A question. All of you, I guess.
It's a slow progress. If you have a very long patience, you can wait for that. Anyway, it seems true that the older generation are more skeptic than the younger. Findings from the survey that I showed you is also that is a fact. The young people and female are more positive to the new way of broadening the assessment process. But also we have signs that the older is skeptic because they are concerned about the young people. So I think the key here is maturing communication, engagement, and also to show and convince that this is a coalition that a lot of very, very good institutions and are in this also. So Fairhaven doing this alone is not any valid argument anymore.
All the important demographics to keep in mind when it comes to the election of new rectors. Alicja and Johan have also points to add. Alicja,
shortly. First, I do not have impression that we can find such clear divergence between genders or age in the attitude to this system, but it is my personal. Maybe it is true at the level of high numbers, but at the individual level, you can find representatives very positive in all groups. But very shortly about this, how to convince leaders, university leaders for that. It is the reason or the consequence maybe of our Polish system, which is extremely centralized if you think about evaluation of institutions, and it is just one model, which it will be the decision by government. That's all. So the important thing is to make, of course, after consultations with the society and so on, but it will be just a decision. It was this time always done this way. Therefore, such important is to be involved in this discussion at the ministry level and to provide this feedback, which we did as a community, and this ministerial team. It is something what is very important. But this proposal, which was created just a moment ago, I think is reasonable, and we will see will be next. And then when we think about evaluation of individual researchers, in Polish system, a lot depends on the evaluation of institution. First of all, financing depends on that. So it is big stress and big simply researchers are recognized as a producer of points. If we change the general system and if the institute does not need to be producer of points, it is also easier to convince that we can have much more flexible evaluation at the individual level. So it is my conclusion. Thanks.
Yes, Johan.
I just add to the comment before about the time. Of course, it would take time because it's a very complex system that you need to address. And if I connect to the picture I showed before with the 8 boxes, you need to address all of them in practical terms as well. And as we are very different profiles of universities with different needs and different priorities, you need to connect both to the leadership, the collegial, to the experts that you judge, the systems for appraisal, the systems for hiring and promotion. It's so many things that you need to address, but you need to be engaged for a very long time to make a change.
Thanks a lot, Johan. Okay, colleagues, our time is up. I don't know whether we could just slightly extend your presence for our last question in the chat. Would it be okay for you? You need to run for the next meeting? Okay, let's then go for it. It's a question from Ruben Silva. Ruben is asking. It's again a big question. The approaches you shared are very interesting. Still, I sense that we might be moving from a metric-centered model of research assessment to a fully narrative-based one, and in doing so, we risk losing granularity, transparency, and verifiability. At the same time, new issues, often similar to the old ones, are emerging with this shift. Don't you feel that what we really need is a more balanced approach? Ruben, I jump in just for a second. Remind that commitment 2 is a call for such a balanced approach, a combination of qualitative and dominantly qualitative use of metrics supported by the quantitative one, but our panelists are, of course, much better positioned to unpack some complexities here.
Can I start?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is that one size does not fit all. That you need to acknowledge that you have differences that you should assess differently and so on. That that alludes to the balanced approach that is in the question. That it has to be more needs driven in recruitment and hiring and promotion of staff.
I agree, and I think the should not. This process is not to throw away publications or the kind of the well-known criteria, but to supplement them and to balance. So we are exactly working with a balanced approach, and in some academic fields, the qualitative approach is more useful than in other. And some institutions, kind of in artistic research, it's very difficult to count. So it's obvious to open up the toolbox to use different tools, and also always think about a balance between what can count and what should not be counted. And the FinCom example, also the balancing what can be assessed qualitatively and what quantitatively is also very, very useful. So over to you, Mira.
Yeah, thanks. I was just like also wanted to point out the FinCom that if you look at our draft, you can really see that we have these qualitative descriptions of activities, but also quantitative. So that was like a deliberate decision from our working group that we do not want to kind of like exclude all the quantitative indicators. They are there. They can be used if they are meaningful and relevant, but aligned with the principles of responsible assessment, that we have to strike the right balance. What it is a good question, and that's something that has to be kind of defined in every assessment context.
Alicja.
I only wanted to echo the previous sentences. Yes, it is important to have a balance, and we also do not want to resist completely from quantitative indicators, because if they are taken together, they can provide some important information, especially when we think not about only individual researchers, but rather institutions. So especially in this pillar 1, the indicators will be as always used to some extent a supportive thing. And also what my personal declaration, the most important is the quality of science. Simply, the rest is just supplemental.
Thanks a lot to all of you. It's a very, very powerful concluding thought, Alicja. Maybe a practical hint for all of you who are interested in how this combination of the qualitative or the qualitative-driven quantitative is getting operationalized in actual implementation. I recommend you to take a look at action plans. If you don't know where to start navigating this growing corpus, I recommend checking the institutions mentioned in the presentations and their action plans as starting points. But you will see plenty of concrete examples of how the qualitative and the quantitative are being combined along the lines of the agreement in practice. Yes, Alicja, is it an old hand of yours or a new hand of yours?
Old one.
Old one. Okay. So yes, I have the feeling that we could continue this discussion with a great interest for a long time, but our time is now really over. The good news is that there will be upcoming episodes in the series, as you can see, so we can continue our conversations. Our presenters are going to share their slides with you, and also presenters, if you have any further links to case studies and other resources, we are happy to circulate that as well. Thanks a lot for teaming up with us in this very first pilot episode of the Spotlight series. We enjoyed it a lot. I hope our colleagues in attendance too. And looking forward to the next ones. Now, if you have any suggestions regarding the format, regarding the topics that you would like to see covered in this series regarding the kind of conversations we should definitely pursue. Or if you are busy with other coalition members on implementing testing solutions across countries, across types of institutions and so on, you have an interesting case in point, please do let us know, and we are going to pick up on your suggestions. So thanks a lot to all of you, and have a great rest of the day, rest of the week. See you at the CoARA General Assembly at the latest, okay? It's just a bit more than a month's time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, bye.